All right, thank you. So I'm Bill Guy, Chairman of Theta Gold Mines. Obviously, it's a very exciting time for Theta. We've got over 30 guys on the ground doing underground work at the moment, doing sampling, getting ready for trial mining. So it's a very active site. I was there in October. To be honest, I was very pleased with the activity, but so much has happened in September. I'm looking forward to sharing that today. Theta's a growth story. We've got 6 million ounces under management. And as always, we look to make that bigger, looking to get into production sort of 2023. We're going to talk today about the first 3 projects and how we're going to expand that production profile to 160,000 ounces a year. So there's the disclaimer for your audience to read at their leisure. So what is Theta? Theta controls over 62,000 hectares. It's initializing its operations now, getting the guys on the ground, getting the boots on the ground and working. We're looking at our first 6 mines. First 6 mines will give us that 160,000 ounces production profile. But what we've done so far in the June quarter is completed the PFS on the first 3 mines. So really it's a staged growth story. It's a relatively low capital project, essentially 40 to 60 million US. We think we can get up and running. We think stage 2 can be self-funded from the profits from stage 1, so we can be organically growing the project, sort of keeping that dilution down for shareholders. And we see it as sort of a high growth investment. So just a little bit about South Africa. So South Africa is one of the most sophisticated countries on the African continent. It's got one of the largest rail and road networks. It's got commercial airports, it's got water. It's a great jurisdiction in terms of its English common law, so you can understand the contracts and the language, no issues there. It's got a large labour force, 460,000 miners currently employed today. It's got top-notch mining schools. It's got everything you can imagine for mining in Johannesburg. You can buy some of the largest mills there in town. You can buy mining trucks, you can buy drills. Johannesburg is the Kalgoorlie of Africa. Everything you can imagine for mining is just sitting there for you to take. During COVID, South Africa has had a stellar year in the mining world. You know, we often get bad news about South Africa, but if we think about the money, there's been a lot of money made in South Africa during COVID. Year on year, it's had a 10.3% increase in production. You know, those increases came from iron ore, platinum, chrome, and gold. You know, one of our nearest neighbors, Pan Africa, they actually had a 70% headline increase in per share of production. So that's a great news for them. They've made great money during the pandemic there in South Africa. Just in terms of the capital structure, Theta's got recently raised $10 million, $6 million in debt because we thought our share price is a bit low, and $4 million in equity. So we always want to keep that dilution down. We got 516 million shares on issue. There's 60 million sort of unlisted and performance shares. Those performance shares are based on hard hurdles of production. So investor and the employees and the executives are aligned. It's a 50,000 ounce production hurdle, 100,000 ounce production hurdle, and 150,000 ounce production hurdle. So we're trying to tell the market very clearly what we're trying to achieve here and how we're going to reward our employees and executives. We've got a market capitalization of about 98 million Australian dollars. Directors and board and management own about 9% of the company. Top 10 own about 68% of the company. We can see the share price a little bit depressed at the moment with the downturn in the gold price. It's followed the gold price pretty closely. So, you know, it's probably just to be expected. And, you know, I also see there's a buying opportunity for the shareholders as well. Really what we want to start doing this year is start telling more of our story in pictures and videos so the investors can really share our journey. This is me on site like in August with the team. So on our left-hand side, we have Jack and Mitford, both ex-Harmony, both very experienced South African mine operators, know how to build and deliver this project. We also got Freddie there, our new mine manager, is also ex-Harmony. He's just joined us, sort of just besides me on the left. On the far right-hand side, we've got Finn Birkin. Finn and I used to work together at Jupiter Mines. Jupiter Mines built the 3rd largest manganese mine in the world in South Africa there as well. So Finn's very experienced in South African mining and delivering projects. And next to Thin, between me and Thin, is actually Terence. Terence is one of our local directors. He works for Sylvania Stillwaters, a number of the major mining houses. He's our local director, and he helps us with our social issues. Terence is very experienced on the ground with the local people. We can see that team office is operational. On the bottom right picture, we can see the mining team there. So there's about 30 guys in that team that are working today underground, making their underground safe and getting the samples out for good news for the shareholders. Just in terms of where we are in the world, we can see we're up in this little northeast corner of South Africa. That little northeast corner of South Africa has delivered between 40 to 50% of the world's gold. Historically, it's about number 7 gold producer today, and it's also still the 3rd largest gold mining reserve in the world. So there's still a lot of gold there in South Africa. We're 370 k's northeast of Johannesburg, up here in the yellow. We got our good neighbours. We've got Westwits there from Australia. Got DRD, which is listed on the New York Stock Exchange, had a great run over there in New York. And we've got Pan Africa, which also had a very profitable year as well, which is our closest neighbour. Just in terms of geology, being an exploration geologist originally, sort of always excited about this. We had the team from Western Australia over there at CSRA help us develop a mineral systems model. If we look on the left-hand side in the purple here, we'll see the Bushveld complex. The Bushveld complex is the largest layered igneous intrusion on Earth, the richest metallogenic province on Earth, a massive heat and fluid bank. It hosts about 90% of the world's platinum. So all that molten rock, heat and energy is pushed over fluid over from the west into the East Transvaal Goldfield. We can see the area in blue there over the red tenements. That's actually when they carbonates. Those carbonates have absorbed all that fluid and caused all those deposits of the gold mine. So effectively, we have that great gold mine, great gold field we see today, which has been pretty much underexplored for the last 50 years. So we really see that 66 million ounce that we have today. We really do feel we can expand on that. We've only got 6 mines in our resource statement. We've still got over 40 mines to go. Just on our, sorry, I'll just go and move this. You can also see how the tenement package fits together. There's a northern, on the right-hand side image, there's a northern package, which we call the Central Northern package, or the TGM package, and there's a southern package called the Sabi package, which is to the south of the main goldfield. So what have we done recently? In the June quarter, we delivered our pre-feasibility study for the first 3 mines. That takes in 16% of the underground mineral resource. So there's a lot of upside here. It doesn't include any inferred resources. We've got a very short payback period of only 13 months. We've got 490,000 ounces in our mine schedule. It gives us a mine life of about 8 years. And obviously during that period, we'll be expanding and growing and adding further gold ounces into that mine schedule. So that'll just grow and grow. We've got an internal rate of return of 82%. But one of the main things I think here is the all-in sustaining cost at $905 US. So that's a good price, less than half the gold price. And we've also got a relatively modest capital requirement of $79 million US. We think we'll be able to self-fund some of that from operations. So we probably need between only 40 to 60 million US to get this project up and going. So when you see all those numbers on the screen, sort of what does it mean? There's about 50 to 55 operating mines in Australia that publicly release their all-in sustaining costs. So if we look at that, we know already from our work that 905 US cost, it puts us in the bottom quartile of producers in South Africa. And if we compare that to our Australian producers, gets us Aussie dollar price of about $1,210. $1,210, we pretty much sit in the bottom quartile of Australian producers as well when we get there. So that's quite exciting. We know this is a highly profitable mine, compares well globally, and it's well worth investing and exploring for more gold. This one was a little bit surprising to me. They also publicly released the head grade. So when we look at the head grade for Australian gold mines, it's over the years been going down and down. So now to be in the top quartile, where head grade in Australia, producing mine, you only need to be over 4 grams. We know the Theta project is going to deliver, TGM underground project is going to deliver about 5.5 grams. So that obviously compares very well with our Australian peers as well. And we know the global resource is 4.17 grams. So, you know, just looking at it all, we compare very well to South African and Australian mines. You know, Australia is pretty much one of the main producers of gold in the world today. So we have a very complicated story because we have so many mines, we own our own gold field. You know, it's not an easy story to tell, and it's not a very easy story for people to understand because there's lots of names. They're often, you know, Afrikaans names and not easy for us to get our heads around as Australian or Southeastern investors. So what we're really trying to do here is to break it down into a very simple process. So we've done the PSS on the first 3 mines. That gives us 60,000 ounces. We know to get that 60,000 ounces out of the ground, we need 3 of these mining units. So we'll have 2 development drill rigs, which will make the drives. We have 1 long hole drill rig, which will be effectively the production drill rig. So it'll drill the holes and we'll load the charges into those holes into each panel. And we have 1 LHD or a bogger, as we say in the mining industry. So the bogger will go around and scoop out the ore once it's been blasted out into the stope. So it'll be modern mechanized mining. So that we know that each one of those units costs about $10 million US. So we need 3 of those. So we know if we want to get to under 60,000 ounces, we need 7 of those units. We have very large mining complexes, so a lot of different places we can put these units into because the ore is very laterally extensive. So we know to produce under 60,000 ounces a year, we need to get 6 mines going, and we need to be processing about 80,000 kilotons a month. So we know how to do it. We know what machinery is required, and we think we've got the team down there now to deliver it. Just wanted to give you guys a sense of how the ore bodies looked here. So we've got on the left-hand side is just the northern package tenements. We can see Belloc in the far north. We've got the Frankfurt mine. The guys are working in that today, making it safe, getting samples out, getting ready for trial mining. We got CDM complex, it was right next to the Beta complex, it was right next to the processing plant. So CDM and Beta are within 3 kilometers of the processing plant in that central area where most of the gold is going to come from. The Beta mine actually hosts about 60% of the ore, or about 6.5 grams. When we look over the right-hand side image, we can see these, we're sort of looking down here horizontally. We can see we've got these large flat ore bodies. We can see the light blue is the inferred material. We can see the green material is the indicated material, which has gone into the mine schedule. But we've got, what we have to remember, all that inferred material at Beta, which is over 500,000 ounces, hasn't gone into that mine schedule. So it has to be upgraded to indicated before we can go into that mine schedule. So we know we've got a massive amount of upside as we go forward to make these mines bigger and bigger with a longer life of mine as well. And we have a little look at the red circle on the right-hand side of that image. We'll see the planned sampling, which is going off this quarter. So the guys are making the Beta South mine safe. They're going to access that mine. They're going to collect over 300 samples. So we'll also, which will lead to a resource upgrade in Q1 next year as well. We can see the CDM complex has got a lot of upside there with a massive amount of blue material as well. They'll be accessing the CDM complex this quarter as well. So really the team on the ground is very busy accessing, making safe the mines and getting ready to go underground, as well as doing drilling, etc. Obviously, Theta is very keen on ESG. We take a very holistic approach to ESG. One of the things we're very proud of Theta is we know by removing all the invasive species from our mining rights, we'll actually increase the water to the local environment. So we'll be adding water, not taking it away through the mining process. We have direct local participation and ownership, with 26% of the project owned by local people and landowners. So, you know, the local community benefits very directly from the project. We sponsor teachers in the local schools. We have feeding programs. It's a very poor area with 80% unemployment. So the mine will be a very welcome part to the local business community. Obviously, we want to conduct our business ethically as best we can. You know, and the guys are very aware of how they interact with the local stakeholders. This has all happened since I left. So I left sort of end of August. In September, we've got the sampling team here ready, getting ready to go underground. They're looking at their plans, making their access points, checking out where they need to go and their sample spacings. We can see the underground team making safe at Frankfurt on the right top picture. They're supporting the roof, installing safety mechanisms and getting ready for that trial mining. We look at down at the bottom central picture, we can see the Bobcat removing some of the old ore which sits in those stopes today and taking outside. So that ore will be collected and then processed at some point. Some of it goes about 4 grams. So the guys are just cleaning those stopes to make it safe for people to come in and out. You can see fire drill training on the bottom right as well. And the team have also got 99% of all staff members are now fully vaccinated for COVID-19. So the company paid for those injections, wanted to just make sure all the stuff was safe, and COVID-19 didn't interfere with our operation. So obviously, ESG in action here. The guys have done a great job on the ground of doing that. All these staff are local and come from the local community. A lot of experience here. There's 150 years of sort of mining in the local area. So a lot of these guys are second generation miners and keen to get back to work. I guess for the investor, this is for the next 6 months, this sort of explains what we're doing. Really, all this work will lead into the definitive feasibility study, which will be delivered to Q1 2022, which will include a resource upgrade. But these are just sort of some of the components that go into that study. Now, that study is already funded. We've just raised $10 million, $6 million in debt. 2A Invest is our first large European fund that's invested in Theta, so that was very exciting for the team, and also shows to the investor, Theta can go through a debt process and get the right outcome with a large fund, which is a very arduous and sophisticated process, but we've completed that now. We have our money to complete our programs. We'll be doing more metallurgical test work, which is great, and we'll just add into that feasibility study, but we're also doing exploration drilling from underground. So the underground team will start exploration drilling in the next couple of weeks. They'll be drilling holes into Beverly, mine we haven't even talked about today, into Frankfurt, into Riefontein. So this all coming together now, sort of getting this pace of work really picking up. So we'll have a nice resource upgrade for the shareholders in Q1. The guys are getting ready for trial mining. We've already seen them making the Frankfurt mine safe and getting the staff in there. The drill rigs are already on site for the trial mining process. And what the guys will be looking at is drill hole patterns, blasting ratios, charge rates. So not only will we have a paper study on how we mine this thing, but we'll also have proof of concept physically that will be able to show to the market. These guys know how to mine these reefs, that they can be done cost effectively, and we've done it. So they'll really add a lot of weight to that definitive feasibility study. Personally, I'm very excited about the beta self-sampling program with over 300 samples to be collected. During my visit there in August, we walked around there for a couple of hours. Finn and I and Terence, we sat on the reefs, we touched the gold. You get quite lost in there. It's quite a big complex. And the guys, putting that in, to have something like that, you can just put into your resource base for the sake of 300 samples is amazing. Normally if we're in Australia, we'd be drilling holes forever, but that's going to be done in a couple of weeks once the guys have access. So, Theta's always been able to add to its resource base very cheaply. We discover our gold, indicated gold, at less than $12 US an ounce, so that's one of the things that makes this such an exciting project. I know the guys, since I left, they discovered a mine called Desire. No one's ever been in there before, but Mifa and Jack were in there the other day. Another mine, they walked for another couple of kilometers in there, a couple of hours, and they think that actually one day that'll be our best mine. They got good grade out of it. The ground is very geotechnically very stable, and that's the sort of thing you find in the backyard that Theta has. It's just amazing, really. So the definitive feasibility study will be very exciting for the shareholders. For me, I really like the trial mining. I think that'll be a great catalyst for the share price to take this from conceptual to very hands-on process. The resource upgrade will also be, good news for the shareholders. But it's also great to see that underground exploration drilling, because the thing about underground exploration drilling, we can do as much as you want. We don't really need permission from anyone. There's no obstacles. We're not interfering with any local landowners. We can just drill away there. And obviously the permitting processes are ongoing as we do our environmental studies as well. So why Theta? Theta has size, 6 million ounces. Well, it's over 6.1 million ounces now. And by Q2 next year, it'll be bigger. We compare very well to our peers. You know, if you look at Nova, DRD, you know, in terms of EV valuations, you know, we compare very well to our peers. You know, and Theta has great potential to discover more. We've got low cost mining as well. Growth. So we're taking 160,000 ounces. We're going to start it off about 60, but we really feel within 5 years we can get to that 160 mark. If we get to 160, that already makes us a mid-tier gold producer. So it's quite exciting for the shareholders, and we don't need to buy any other projects. That's just with the projects we have. We're producing our gold very cheaply at 900 all-in sustaining costs. We know when we actually get that plant full and things are up and running, our costs will potentially go down lower as well. As we bring on more mines, we'll get economies of scale, so we can always be driving those costs down. We've got an amazing team there. Now, in Western Australia, you always get excited about companies when you see very experienced people joining little mining companies, you know, and that really drives the street vibe, you know. But here in South Africa, you know, think of the people we've got. We've got people from Harmony, we've got people from Goldfields, we've got people from Jupiter Mines. Look, you know, basically Theta now is accumulating staff from all the major mining houses. You know, that's starting to tell you something, that these people have a belief in this project. We have multiple access points. This one always cites the guys on the ground because they just have so much access to this reef system. They know if they have a problem somewhere, they can go somewhere else. There's little sort of stopes and access points everywhere. The gold reefs, because they're relatively flat, they just pop out the side of the hill, and the old timers have just followed them in, and we get all that development work for free, because basically the old timers only mined anything at 18 grams plus. Anything that was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 grams was rejected, and it basically just became an exploration stope. So there's nearly 100 kilometers old workings in here for the guys to tap into and develop. And obviously we're very proud of our community relationships. We will generate over 1,500 jobs directly during this process over the next 5 years. And that will positively affect over 20,000 people in an area that's very sparsely populated. We can make a huge difference to the local area. This is just a little curve you can find on all over the internet, you know, stylized curve about how the life cycle of mineral discoveries, but it's sort of interesting for the investors to have a look and think about it. Obviously, we have the speculation phase of the discovery phase, which is very nice in the orange there. Then we come down to the development phase. As you know, one investor leaves, then the new investors come in as we get into resource development. Theta's just added its first major fund, you know, and getting into the development phase now. So it's quite an exciting time for the shareholders. So there's still a lot of upside in the shares, we believe, known for the investors to capitalize on as we head towards gold bars. I just really like to say thank you. We've got a picture of Mitford there. Mitford and I do most of the PR and the presentation. Mitford's really doing a lot of technical presentations. We'll be doing the IMARC presentation too this year, if anyone wants a very technical debrief. Jack and the team down there, I'm really blown away with what they've done between the time I left and in September. You know, they've taken this thing from nearly operational to quite operational in terms of an underground team. You know, and that was just in the month of September, so that's quite exciting for me. We're listed on the ASX and the OTCQB. We think Theta's got a bright future in front of it, so I'll take questions now, Timothy, if there's any questions.